Recently, I was working in my garden, and I noticed out of the corner of my eye a branch on one of my persimmon trees that's fairly newly planted just fell. And I went over and, after closer inspection, discovered it was the damage of the twig girdler, and I noticed another branch on the same tree that had been girdled as well, and I looked closely and there was the beetle crawling down the tree. So I dispatched the beetle, but I began to pay more attention to the damage that twig girdlers were doing in my yard. Now normally this is an insect that is not much of a problem, but perhaps because of the drought this year, the trees are already stressed, I'm seeing a lot more damage, and I thought that you might be as well. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about the life cycle and biology of this insect. It's a cylindrical shaped beetle that has a kind of a mottled gray and brown color, so it looks very much like the bark of trees. So it's a little bit difficult to see the adult. The adult has long antennae that are usually as long, or in the case of males, even longer than the body. So it's fairly unmistakable when you see the adult. The adults mate, and then the female crawls up the tree, goes onto a limb, and she makes a cut, a V-shaped notch in the branch, because the pupa will develop better in dry wood, so they don't like the wet wood. This branch, she leaves the heartwood of the branch intact, and then she goes to the part that's been severed and lays eggs, maybe 5 to 20 eggs. She makes a V-shaped notch, lays an egg, seals it over with a waxy substance, and then she crawls back out onto the main tree, and where she might attack another branch. This branch will linger on the tree perhaps, or even just with a high wind fall off like I observed. And then the larvae actually pupate inside this branch. They tunnel out the heartwood and consume the heartwood of the branch. Then they turn into the pupa, and then the pupa will emerge typically in the spring, even as late as May to June, and become an adult, mate, and go all through the same cycle again. So one of the easiest ways to control this insect is just simply picking up the branches and discarding them. Now, if you have a very hot compost pile, you could put the branches in your compost pile, and that should take care of the pupa inside. But if not, you may want to take these and burn them or discard them in the trash so that you break that life cycle on your property. Now, in a day's time, I actually picked up this many branches, and this is what I picked up this morning in my yard, and I've been picking them up on a fairly regular basis. So if you look at this and think 5 to 25 eggs in each branch, it can really add up. So there are several different types of twig girdlers. There's one that affects only mesquite trees. There are others that will affect pecans, the red oaks. The black oaks don't tend to have too many problems. You'll see them with hackberry trees, many fruit trees, and also citrus trees will be affected. And that can definitely, with a young tree, affect the scaffolding and branching of your tree. So you want to get these under control. One of the things you look for with the branches is that pencil-shaped chewing that the twig girdler leaves. It almost looks like a sharpened pencil. So that's what you really want to look for when you're picking up sticks in the yard. And generally the branches are so small that you might be tempted to just mow over them, but you really want to look for that. Now, squirrels will gnaw branches and leave kind of a jagged branch. So that looks very different from the twig girdler damage. And just any kind of broken or mossy branch, if it's got a lot of ball moss on it or a lot of green moss on it, it's probably not due to twig girdler damage. So just break the life cycle of the twig girdler and protect your trees. The trees are stressed by the drought anyway, so we don't want to have anything that's going to give them any further stress. And where the twig girdler actually does the damage, the trees get a very odd branching afterwards, so it can really misshape your trees. So make sure you go out and inspect your yard for twig girdler damaged branches and pick those up and destroy them.